Welcome to the Backyard Professor Video Response. As many of you know, I'm relatively new to all this UAP, UFO stuff, and I get rather excited when I discover a new angle or new knowledge, which is truly every day. And so I'm recording it, and in my exploration, I'm sharing what I'm discovering and learning, and today has been no exception. I found something that is so blinker and cool. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. Richard Dolan did an interview, it's been over a year ago now, of a gentleman named Luigi Venditelli. Now, he is the founder, the president and CEO and founder of a thing called Project Gravitaur. And what they did is he gathered together some of the world's greatest virtual reality artists, electronic engineers and artists from Japan and China and Greece and the UK and America and Canada. They're up there in Canada. And he gathered all this force together, and they got a hold of Bob Lazar. And they said, "Hey, Bob, this is what we want to propose doing, but we need your input." And after he talked with them a few times and realized, hey, this is the real deal, he jumped on board. And for 2 years, these gentlemen, with the help of Bob Lazar, recreated in virtual reality the entire Area 51 and the important Area S4, where Bob Lazar worked on an alien spacecraft. And they recreated this alien spacecraft inside and out. And Bob was with them all the way through this, saying, yeah, well, no, that's not quite right. And they took explicit measurements as based on his memory, and they put it together in as realistic a fashion as they could, and it is so over the top spectacular. Now, I know Christian Harloff on Down to Earth has commented on this. I'm surprised this isn't being talked about more and more and more. My suspicion is that from a year ago, when he was talking to Richard Dolan, Luigi said, well, we're hoping the documentary on Lazar, the original whistleblower, was going to come out in February 2024. And then that time came and went, and they got up into April, May, and there were still some issues with it. They were talking about distributors. They were getting with various distributors, etc. And anyway, to make a long story short, they still haven't got that film produced. They want to produce the documentary, the film first. They have a book about it, and then they want to create the virtual reality. At this point, so far as I'm aware, none of this has come to fruition yet. But I want to share some of the clips with some of the pictures that Venditelli shared with Richard Dolan. These are exquisite. They are just so fantastically interesting. It blows my mind. This is pretty exciting if they can get this thing going. I'm sorry to hear they're having so many problems, but let's take a look at the S4 Area Secrets, Area 51. Yeah, this is the one I want to do. So let me share the screen here. I want to share with you some of these ideas that they're sharing and these pictures that are just so remarkably fascinating. I'm not going to share the whole video with you. I'll let you watch it on Richard Dolan's show. But this is really worth a look. Fun stuff. Amazing. This is the craft that they have created after tens of thousands of man hours and 2 years talking with Bob Lazar. Let's take a listen.
There you go. Yeah, that's
right.
and this
That's
is basic.
beautiful.
Yeah, so this is the infamous Bob Lazar. This is the sport model. This is the flying disc that he was able to see up close. And I mean, this was something that he initially wasn't completely understanding. He didn't know what it was, and at a certain point, he was able to identify that there was an American flag on it. It was a reversed American flag that he saw, a sticker of it.
So I just want to stop and just look at this beautiful graphic rendering that your team did.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing. And I mean, I just love it. You see the flag is right by the hatch, the opening there,
Right. Yeah.
by the ladder. But I just think that's just beautifully rendered. Your team did an incredible job here.
Well, this is our whole goal here was we wanted to, and this is what we had told Bob, and Bob saw the seriousness of our team, and that's why he agreed to work with us, because he realized that we were not going to be doing anything that might have reduced the quality of the story or even potentially damaged more disinformation or more wrong information. There's a lot of inaccuracies. My team spent months while we were doing this. Not only did we get information from Bob, but of course everybody's going to Google. They're going to go and find out whatever is out there, so we can pull data. And there was so much info that was wrong. So Bob said, "You know what? This is a great opportunity to get this down to exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
That way, there's no more inaccuracies out there. This is, if anybody wants to know what I saw, this will be it. That way it's as clear as you can get it."
So here's another.
Is that not spectacular? I mean, come on. What a fantastic rendering. And Bob was helping them create this visual. And they have put all of this in a visual reality simulation where once they finish this project, we will be able to get the goggles and we will be able to walk right up, climb up the stairs to that UFO and crawl in it and look around and see it. I am really excited for that project. I mean, what an exquisitely fascinating project. Let's keep going. They share some more things. What I found really pertinent in so many of these clips was as they worked on this just nonstop. He even has later where they slept in the studio overnight so that they could get this right. They put hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of hours in it. They were there for days and days and days and weeks at a time, in fact, working on this project. There were times when Bob saw something and it even surprised him. He's got some beautiful stories here. Let me share this with you. Let's keep going. I need to bump it up to 1838 here.
I purposely walked to the entrance of the main hangar door as if I was Bob walking into that hangar looking at the craft. And the first thing I noticed was the reversed American flag. It was you could see it from that angle. And I'll never forget saying, "Oh my God, you could see the flag," and we all stood there. People put their goggles on and they said, "You know what? Yeah, you can." And something that I consider to be a win for us, because that means we measured things properly. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So
Really good point.
keep in mind, it wasn't just about what it looked like. It had to be accurate to everything. So that was important.
Now, before we go.
Yeah. And this is I think this is part of the real attraction of this whole project is their continued effort to keep things in proper proportion, height, width, depth, etc. And Bob was there and he was critiquing them along the way, saying, "Yeah, that's not what it was. Wrong color. Oh, nope, wrong size," and so on and so forth. This is really important that Bob's reactions were so just out of his heart genuine when they got to certain finished parts of some of the parts. And that's what got me excited about this entire thing. I'll just keep going from here.
Inside the craft, because you have some nice recreations of that. I just want people to see how some of this was done. This is an image of your
This
work.
was at this was at the very beginning. What you're looking at here is like maybe month one, as we were kind of just pulling images, trying to find anything we could that would help us come up with at least some graphics for us to have references. So this is the very, very beginning of the project. And then as we moved forward, obviously, we also even had Bob himself come to Montreal, spend days with us, and we worked side by side. He looked at every single aspect, every detail. Anytime something was wrong, Bob would point it out. You know, he would say, "No, that was not that color, or that was not there." So it was kind of a and what was really cool that I consider to be real fun was he remembered tons of stuff while he was in the environment. So there was a moment, a aha moment for Bob. At a certain point, he was inside the hangar, and he had this tablet that we gave him, and everywhere he pointed the tablet was as if he could see where he was in the hangar. And at a certain point, we were all talking, and he just said, "Shh, shh, shh, everybody, shh." And we said, "What?" He goes, "I saw that." And he was just near those little stairs going into the craft, and he says, I remember that. I remember being right there. That's so creepy." He goes, "I totally remember that." And
Talking about this right here, going up these stairs.
Yeah, but from a
into the craft?
from a lower angle, let's say from the bottom, like, being on the ground, because this image is from the top. So it was so cool to see him like stop, and he was like, I remember that, and we were all like, "Really?" And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "Absolutely, that happened," So it was so genuine when he said that. We were like all smiling, going, "Man, this is a really cool project for us, because not only do we get to work with the guy, but we're also helping him remember, because we're giving them the opportunity to revisit S4."
It makes
Yeah, that is so cool. I mean, that's the kind of a reaction from a man who genuinely was there, Bob Lazar's story. And of course, he's been drugged through the mud. He's been at this now for how many years? And now this incredibly intelligent project comes along. And they said, "Why don't we use Bob?" Now, see, and again, I'll say it. Today is not the same as yesterday. We didn't really have this kind of technological prowess to do such phenomenal work recreating someone's experience like they're doing with Lazar. And it's his genuine interaction and reaction when he sees it and what he remembers. I love that, man. This is so interesting. So let's keep going. There's a lot more here. Yeah, a little bit more. I want to bump it up here and we'll get right to about there. Yeah, that's close enough. Let me make sure this is on. Yeah, right about here. Close enough. Yep.
said this would jog his memory and
Yeah, well,
enable him to remember certain things that may not have been there.
not only did that jog his memory, but our questions were also something that we would ask him a question, and he would say, "Yeah, it was about, I don't know, 6 feet by 4 feet," and then we would create it, and he would look at it and he would go, "Oh, you know what? No, that's incorrect." He goes, "That didn't look like that." He goes, "Make it a little small." So we were able to live sometimes change, and you go, "That's it." Goes, "That's how it was." And so certain things were very specific. We could totally see his responses were so genuine when we gave, and when he gave us, by the way, when he gave us all the dimensions of what he could remember of the craft, and that they had to coincide, because as the 3D engineers, the designers that were making this, they would always say, well, Bob only gave us these measurements of these components, but you're telling me that the disc should be about 52 feet. So we're going to hope, because of the way we have to build it, that this will make sense based on what he's measured versus the 52 feet. And also, there were things that Bob would say that were physical limitations in the craft for a human. He says it was although it's a 52 feet disc, the entrance is so narrow and it's so slanted that you have to crawl into the craft. There's no way you can walk into this craft. So a normal 5'10", or a taller person would absolutely have to crouch down on their knees and crawl in all the way to about where the amplifiers are, where you can now start to.
We're going to take a look at that. Actually,
yeah, and he does take a look at this. But the really cool thing is that one-on-one direct communication and the correction. I mean, you are standing here with the legendary Bob Lazar recreating this with his memory and with him seeing what you're doing and him being able to correct it. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about how magnificent this whole idea is. I can't imagine how much money he spent. He says at the first of this video, you should watch the whole video if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it and it's been a while, it's worth a rewatch. But yeah, I mean, he shelled out millions and millions of dollars to produce this for we the public. Now, I get it. It's not out yet, but we can always hope, because this project just wets my whistle. This is cool stuff. Let's keep going.
maybe we should jump in there now.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is a distance shot as you're entering the craft, I assume?
No. So
No? Okay.
on the left side, so if you're looking at this image,
Yeah.
You see 3 seats. Imagine the third seat to the left, and you would imagine the third seat to the left aiming at 9 o'clock on a clock. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the entrance is at 10 o'clock. So it's further away. You cannot see it in this image, but
Okay.
that hatchway that you saw from it being in the hangar where the little stairs are to go in,
Yeah.
the entrance is to the left at the 10 o'clock position.
Okay.
Yeah.
But essentially, this, from one edge of the
Right.
inside of the disc, you could look forward and you would see these chairs.
That's right. And
they're kind of molded into. We're going to get a closer look.
right. This is all these components. This is one of the seats. Everything was one piece. So even the way we built it in 3D is one piece.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of work to do to blend it all in with all its, because I mean we had to make it in pieces and then put it all together. So there's a pretty basically it's a one color. Everything is one material. Everything is the exact same pewter silver color.
Mm-hmm.
It's all blended together. These seats were obviously molded into the ground, and every time we would call them seats, Bob would always say, yeah, they look like seats, but we didn't know if they were actually seats. He says we are assuming they're seats, but he says we don't know if they were,
No, I mean,
Yeah, that is fantastic. I mean, that is some serious graphic arts, right? And you just feel like you are in the inside of your very first UFO. I really hope what I would like to ask my audience, or let my audience know, you guys, is we need to contact this Luigi Venditelli and encourage him, and go subscribe. I will share some of his information on his YouTube as well as his Project Gravitaur online. And we need to communicate with him and ask him, is there anything we can do to help move this forward? Because I would love, I can't wait to see the documentary, but I would love to get that VR with the headset and go walking through Area 51. They entirely recreated it. Pretty spectacular project, man. This is like rocking me.
Well, they sure as hell look like seats to me.
Right.
And I assume that a normal sized human male or a human female probably could not sit in that comfortably.
No,
I'm just
actually,
too small.
imagine the height of the seat would probably be to your knee or even lower. So you can imagine how tiny they were. He
Mhm.
clearly indicated these were not in any way designed for a human adult.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the cool thing is the attention to the details in this. And so, you get the woo-woo story, you get the debunking, oh yeah, the little green men, etc. There are so many numerous accounts of UFO experiences of little 3-foot people. I mean, in the Middle Ages and in antiquity, who were the gnomes, really? You know what I mean? It's just so fascinating to realize, what else are these people going to call these? Because Bledsoe talks about one of the clues that Tim Semeron told him to do is, he said, while you're walking through the forest, or while there are orbs, or if you feel like you're feeling really weird and like someone's watching you, start singing a song in your mind, because they can understand your thoughts. And if you'll sing a song in your mind, just keep a song going in your mind. If you pay close attention, you'll see them peek out from behind trees or rocks or whatever the terrain is. That's really kind of interesting, because that type of description is what we read about in the children's fairy tales, where the adults hid the truths so the church wouldn't kill them off. They just wrote kids' stories. It's nothing but a kid's story. And yet the truth is in those stories. So a lot of very interesting potential ideas to think about. I love this kind of stuff.
Actually, did you or Bob or any of your team, you had to have moments when you're putting this all together where you're thinking, good grief, this is alien technology. We're recreating alien design here.
Right.
You just like, does that ever just like stop you in your tracks
Yeah.
and just kind of blow your mind a little bit there?
And Richard, we have countless times. Like we spent like weeks working. Some of the staff would sleep at the office. I'm serious. Like people would work like 12-hour shifts, sleep at the office. We have like a big, nice place. We have showers and stuff. So they would sleep there. Next morning they're up because they want to get this right. And sometimes while we're sitting there looking at the screens, putting it all together, we all stop, look at each other, and we're going, dude, this is crazy. This is like the inside of an ET craft. And
Yeah.
we got so familiar with it that at a certain point it didn't impress us anymore, because we just knew exactly what it was at all
Sure.
times. And when we started pulling out some images and renders and people saw it, we were worried. We're like, "Ah, fuck, we hope people like this, we hope this is what." And the first person was Bob. The first person we had to show was Bob. I remember there was a call that we did with him on Zoom, and we said, we're going to share our screen and we want you to tell us what you think. And we shared the screen and we went into the craft, and I'll never forget it. I actually have it recorded. I don't think I'll ever put it public, but we have that call recorded. And Bob literally just went, "Oh my God." He says, "You got it." He says, "You did it." And he used the word creepy a lot. He says, "Look at those seats. Look how creepy they are. I remember that creepiness about them." So they have like this weird shape to them, and they're small. And he said it was so it was such a very bare bones environment. It was so one
Yeah.
color. There was nothing in there. It was almost uninviting. It was he always said ominous. He says ominous a lot, but with us he said creepy a lot. And he said, I always felt like I didn't belong in there when I was in there. And the components, he says, you got the amplifiers correctly. The seats are correct. The
We're
position
going
of
to look at those in a second, by the way,
yeah,
the amplifiers. Yeah.
yeah. So and we showed him that famous honeycomb hatchway that he's talked about many times. I don't
Mhm.
have a picture for you here, but there's this little hatchway that's on the ground behind the seats that what he was able to explain, that was explainable to him. It was like you basically you pull on it and you could open this hatch. It all collapsed on itself. It looked like a honeycomb, like the cereal
Mhm.
placed, horizontally embedded into the ground. You just put your finger in one of the holes and you pull, and it just collapse on itself, and then you can access the lower level. He saw that. He saw how we created that, and he was like, "Jesus!" He goes, "You did it," and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we thought that's cool. I'm happy that we did. I said, you know,
I mean, come on, put yourself in these guys' position. You are with the world famous Bob Lazar, and you are graphically recreating the spaceship he was working on. And he says something like that. He says, "Oh, wow, that's it. You did it." I mean, God, to have that experience. What lucky people. That's why I think if we all get together and offer our help or whatever, or support uh, the Project Gravitaur, he can get this information out better and more. I mean, it just adds another entirely spectacular dimension to this new reality that we're facing. So yeah, that is just rocking it as far as I'm concerned.
It's remarkable. Let me ask you about this now. So now we're getting into some of the people can see the chair. One of the chairs is in the background there,
mhm,
and explain what we're looking at in the
okay,
foreground here.
yeah. Well, this is one of the first renders that we have pulled out. So what we have here, what you're looking at, the seat that's in the background is the center seat, which
Mhm.
is the seat that is right in front of the placement of where the reactor goes. So we're looking at this square base plate with a small tower in the center of it, with a next design on the base plate. And you have a hemisphere that has been removed in this particular case because it usually is applied on top. So it
Mhm.
covers that tower.
Sure.
Now, that reactor has a small indentation. The actual ground of the craft, where it sits, there's a small square indentation right there where the reactor sits.
Aha. Okay.
So that's where they know where to place it. It doesn't lock in, it doesn't magnetically connect in. It just sits in that square. And as soon as the hemisphere is then, well, obviously the element 115 is inside that tower, by the way. That's where the fuel, if you want to call it, of this reactor is.
Mhm.
It is inserted inside that little tower. There's a cap that goes on it. You take the hemisphere, apply it on top of the reactor, and at that point, you have your completed reactor. Now, before you can get anything really started, there's a pipe that's hanging from the ceiling. You can actually see it in the other image that you had prior to this one.
Yeah, and we will see that here in a second. But is that not spectacular to see a visual of what Bob Lazar described? Now, that element 115, he shows a recreation of it. It's the little triangular piece uh, that they used apparently as fuel. And so we'll be able to see a look at that. But apparently they put it up in the in that little tower, in that little cone. Now, what they say about this pipe is also remarkably fascinating, and how they've depicted it. I mean, this is like nothing in the interior of any spaceships that I've ever seen pictures of at all. So this is really quite amazing. It kind of gets your juices flowing, opens up our imaginations. Let's keep going.
Let me go back.
Go back.
Back
Yeah.
here?
So
Yes.
as you can see, there's this vertical pipe that is hanging from the ceiling that is directly above the hemisphere. When the reactor is in its set place, that pipe has like basically a edge that is rounded off so that it can perfectly apply on top of the hemisphere. And that was something that Bob was very detailed about, where he said it was about 3 inches in diameter, and
Mhm.
you could pull it down or pull it up from the ceiling,
Mm.
and it did not have a telescopic mechanism. It's the material itself would just simply disappear into the craft. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
he says we could not see how this thing was being pushed in to the ceiling. And when we pulled it out, we couldn't tell, he said, how it was coming out. It was like just magic. He goes,
How did that-
so he says it was very bizarre to see something like that, because we're usually used to something that like a telescopic thing that one goes
Yeah.
into the other. And so he says that was something that really blew my mind. He said, because I couldn't figure out where that was
Was this
going.
something that no one at S4 understood? Did Bob know whether this was understood by anybody else?
The only person Bob was able to communicate with was his lab partner, Barry Castillo.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Barry Castillo had been very informative to Bob throughout the time that he was there. So Bob would ask questions. Barry would say, "Yeah, this pipe does this," but there were no answers. So it's basically, yes, we know it does this. We've already observed this. This has been noted, but we can't figure out how it's doing it.
And
That's so fascinating. Man, the weirdness of the alien technology is, it's so incredible to see this visual with the explanation verbally coming from Bob Lazar, and then just I mean, there's no airline, control. There's no steering wheel. There's no gas pedals. None of that. There's no buttons on the inside of this crazy thing. This is really interesting and spectacular. I love stuff like this. So one last clip, and then I'll show you the Project Gravitaur website. Let's take a look.
literally a separate reactor.
Yeah,
There were two.
yeah. This is actually a really important part of the story,
Yeah.
which will be highly detailed in the movie. So there was a propulsion lab that was right adjacent to the main hangar where Bob was able to view and inspect the sport model disc.
Hmm.
That propulsion lab uh, was already set up when he arrived at S4 the very first time. So when he walked into the lab and was introduced to Barry Castillo by Dennis Mariani, who was his superior at the time, there were a whole bunch of things in the lab already. So he later found out that this was a propulsion reactor, some gravity reactor that was sitting on the table as you see it here. You
Yeah.
have the hemisphere of the base and all that. And then there was the element 115, which is this triangular piece that's copper colored, just sitting on the
Foreground
table.
there. Yeah.
And then on the ground to the left of the reactor
Mhm.
was one of those amplifiers, those rectangular consoles that are near the seats. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And it's actually very important to note that although the craft has been depicted in the past by many people, and there's a lot of designs of it, and a lot of people some people did great work, while others so-so. One amplifier was actually missing in the craft when he went in there, meaning they had cut it with a plasma cutter. They cut out an amplifier.
Whoa. Huh. So, and he goes on to explain why that's significant, because they had to make really certain that that wouldn't destroy or damage anything else in the craft. So they must have put a boatload of study and maybe radar technology on it, or some kind of a instrumentation to make sure they weren't going to damage any very important components when they did that. But let me share the I'll stop my screen here and let me restart the screen, because I want to share this. Let's do this one first. This is the YouTube. Yeah, this is the one I want to show you. Now, this is the Project Gravitaur YouTube channel. You can just look it up, Project Gravitaur. And this is their latest, what is S4, the secret military bases hiding UFOs. And this is just 5 days ago. So they've got brand new information. They're keeping up on this as much as they can. Here's one on who is Bob Lazar. He's got the great story. Project Gravitaur, we're back. New exclusive footage and behind the scenes. They're explaining what they're doing. Here we see him holding this element, S115. Very interesting. I can't remember if in Chris Bledsoe's book, if the piece of metal that was put in his hand was a piece of that element or not. And then they've got various shorts, and then they've got a lot more. Lazar, the original whistleblower. This is the teaser trailer, but this was a year ago, and they still haven't got this out. This is the program. Oh, this is the New Paradigm Institute. So George Knapp confirms that Bob Lazar has an element 115 that could power spacecraft. They've got Bob Lazar and Luigi Venditelli, the making of Project Gravitaur Part 1, and then more on Bob Lazar. This is the show I'm showing, the clips from the show. And then this is Lazar 2024 from the paranormal space. So there's a lot of information on Bob Lazar. Meet Luigi Venditelli, the director behind Project Gravitaur. So this is their YouTube, Project Gravitaur. And now let me I've got to stop this screen and let me share the other screen. I'm going to go to their YouTube page for you, because this looks impressive too. Come on, share it. Here we go. This is the Project Gravitaur website itself. I want to make sure you're seeing it. Yeah. And they have, in 2013, the U.S. government admitted the existence of Area 51, but not S4. Why? So 35 years later, Bob Lazar, and aren't we grateful? Bob Lazar is still around. And so he's going to talk about the secrets of the incredible story of Bob Lazar at S4. I'm looking so forward when that documentary comes out, and they're still doing film updates. They haven't got it yet. They're going to try like crazy to get the story. These are going to be the glasses that we put on to see the virtual reality simulation. This is the VR experience, the documentary, and the book. They're going to explore everything about Bob Lazar. You want to watch the teaser trailer? Let's watch the teaser trailer. I haven't seen this yet. Let's watch it, just for kicks.
There's really no way I can prove it without revealing my identity and getting myself into more trouble than I have already.
Exactly what's going on up there?
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs that are out there of extraterrestrial origin, and they're basically being dismantled. Some are, well, in various stages of completion, built from other parts, and they're being test flown and
music's too loud.
Basically just analyzed.
I was 29 years old, working on the most incredible project in the history of the world. No one has ever been able to show exactly what I saw with my own eyes, until now. Let's travel back in time to December of 1988 when this all started.
That's a pretty fun little, yeah, that's kind of cool, isn't it? Great trailer. Yeah, I think the music's too loud. I couldn't hardly hear Bob. Maybe it's my ears. I don't know. What do you guys think? We might want to tell these guys that, hey, tone down the music a little bit. Yeah, I know you want to build excitement and all, and you want it to be a fabulous documentary. But so anyway, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share with you about the exciting news of this Bob Lazar story. I mean, I'll tell you what, if this can't excite people, to me, this just makes this subject all the more interesting, doesn't it? It'll be so fun to be able to do that VR experience and see this documentary and read the book. Bob Lazar still kicking and still kicking it on, baby. This is what makes this, again, this UAP stuff so interesting. To the veterans of the field, to the people who've been at it for 10 years or so, and to we people who have just jumped on it within the last few months, we're all excited about this. And the more we learn, study, and see, the more we want to share it with you. So thanks for being on this journey with us. We are exploring. Yeah, we're students. We're having fun with it. We're pretty soon I'm going to be dreaming about this stuff, you know. Ooh, maybe they'll come and visit me and I'll think I'm dreaming and they'll take me away and talk to me or something. Who knows? Anyway, hey, thanks. Welcome to all you new subscribers. Hit the like button and subscribe. And thanks for being here with me. By the way, I should do this, huh? Hold on. Where is it? Nope, it's under the brand. There we go. For Pete's sake, I should have put that up there. Yeah, baby. Hit the subscribe button, hit your notification button, and share the video with everybody that you can. And thank you for watching. I will return when I find more good stuff. Don't forget, tomorrow is the UAP hearings in Congress. I'll be back tomorrow night to share various ideas that I hear about. I'm going to try like crazy to watch it while I'm on lunch. I'll see if I can get that done and give you my thoughts. So lots of cool stuff in this area. Man, this is the coolest subject we could be involved with, in my opinion. I will return shortly. In the meantime, be good, do well, have fun, make lots of friends, stay happy, and keep watching the BYP videos. A lot more to come.